Welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Today I have Justin Farrington on the podcast, and in a rare opportunity, he's actually interviewing me. And the point behind it is, in speaking with Justin, and he's a new friend, he's a neighbor up here in Montana, and talking to him about his goals and ambitions, he talked about maybe one day having a podcast and being able to be of value to first responders. He's been in law enforcement for many, many years, and he's looking at a transition. And he came to me and said, "Hey, look, Jim, you've got a great story. I want to learn how to podcast. Can you teach me?" I said, "Well, better yet, how about we just do a podcast together?" And then he thought, "Well, can I lead the show and ask you questions?" And I thought, what better way for my listeners to learn a little bit more about me than Justin interviewing me on today's show. So hopefully you'll pick up some new tidbits about me while we give Justin the opportunity to get some great practice and learning more about podcasting and what it's like to be behind the mic. And, I think you're really going to enjoy this show. There's a lot of details that I've kind of brushed over in the past about myself that I don't say that it would give me the authority to do what I do, but it certainly might make it a little bit more clear why I enjoy being on the podcast and what keeps me driven in life. So please enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate all your comments online. Keep them coming. I've got a lot of great ideas. We got a whole bunch of good guests coming up. So as most of you know, if you've listened to the last month or two's worth of podcasts, I've moved to Montana, enjoying this wonderful weather. No, it is not really snowing here yet. They say it's coming, so I'll be ready for that. We did have a little snow for Christmas, so that was nice. Anyways, I met some great neighbors. Very fortunate to be living in this wonderful place. And I've met some great neighbors that live down our long driveway and across the street. And that is the Farrington family. And it's Justin and Jessica and their little girl Shelby. And they got a whole bunch of horses and dogs and all kinds of fun stuff. And in getting to know the family over there, I was talking to Justin, who is a sergeant in a California police department. He's worked for 4 different agencies. Been in law enforcement since 1997, so imagine he's got a lot of stories to tell. And Justin has only listened to 2 podcasts in his life, and that was after I told him what a podcast was. And those podcasts happen to be mine. Actually, I think he's got a couple more under his belt. I'm going to let him talk too. But he came to me and said, "Hey, in the spirit of just saying yes, one day I might want to do my own podcast and have it themed for law enforcement officers." I thought, what a great idea. They said, "Well, how about we practice? Maybe show me what it's like to do a podcast." I said, "There's no practice in my world. We're either going to do it or not." So without further ado, what we're going to do today is I'm going to turn the show over to Justin, and he's going to interview me after he's listened to a few of my podcasts. He listened to Jim Riley #1, the beginning, and he thought he'd flush out some of my history for my listeners and get a little practice while he's at it. So if this thing's screwed up, we can blame Justin. I'll give his email, phone number, and all that other good stuff, address at the end of the show so you can harass him. Probably not, but anyways, I'd like to introduce, for the first time on air, podcasting, Justin Farrington.
Well, thank you very much, Jim, for that intro. That was, I appreciate the pressure that you didn't put on my shoulders, neighbor.
Only 24,000 downloads right now. Don't screw it up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, like you said, I'm new to this podcast world. Moving here to Montana has been a dream of mine for many years. I finally was able to do it. And the best thing in the world happened when you guys moved in next to us.
We certainly appreciate that.
My situation is a little bit different. I commute back and forth. Unfortunately, I'm still policing in California. So with your help, I'll get here soon. Right?
We want you here now, man. There's a lot of good times ahead of us. Hey, if you haven't been to Montana, just like they say, Big Sky, Montana, that is all that we look at over here.
That's a fact.
So, Justin, I can imagine you want to get out here as soon as possible, but we certainly understand getting close to retirement and getting out of law enforcement when the time is right.
Well, law enforcement's one of those different types of jobs, and I'm sure you've heard this many times before. But it's one of those deals where when you go into that, it is a profession. It's something that you go into it and you stay until retirement, unless something bad happens to you or you're unable to do your full term. Most of the terms when I started back in the late '90s and early 2000s, it's a 30-year term. The pension formula in California for California police officers and stuff like that, if your agency is part of what they call CalPERS, that's the retirement plan, you can't retire until 50. Well, now the retirement age is 57.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm at 50. I got 4 years left.
There you go.
So, yeah, I'm getting close. I'm getting real close. It makes it a lot tougher, though, with my family here in Montana and me going back there.
We got your back while you're back there. And by the way, before I turn this over to your long list of interview questions I see, I'd just like to thank you from my family to yours for being an officer and serving. We appreciate the work you do. And we know it's not an easy job to have. So thank you for that. So with that.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, so, one of the things that's resonated with me so much about you, what little I know of you, this is the second time that we've met, you moved to Montana, you're from California like myself, you're a husband, you're a father. Tell me a little bit about that, about this transition coming over to Montana and what the reasons were behind that, bringing your family over here prior to you spent 50 years in California.
Yeah, well, when I had my kids, really it started with my first, or the notion of having kids, and I'm with my second wife now. I'm very, very thrilled and lucky and fortunate to have the wife that I have, Samantha. When I had the kids, I realized that anything I do in the future is going to be for them. I waited long enough to have kids, and I didn't want to miss a single moment. When you talk to parents around, they'll tell you it goes by fast, and I'm a big believer in that. And if you're a parent listening, it goes by fast. I've got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, both girls, and I am proud to say I really haven't missed a moment. So with that notion, I started working towards being semi-retired or working from home, or whatever it would take to work from home. And it took some major career decisions, sacrifices. Many people know that I built a tequila brand named Azuña Tequila, and I stepped away. I have ownership over there, but I stepped away as the CEO really to focus on my kids. The time was right for my investors and for the business. I had a great group of people over there. But I stepped away to work from home and do things that I can be around my kids a lot more. And really, to answer your question about Montana, I knew that California was way too busy, congested, crazy for a variety of reasons for me to raise my kids there. And my wife and I started looking at places that we could really call home, spread our wings, enjoy some of the lifestyle things that we knew we'd like the mountains and horses and dogs and animals and chickens and all that stuff. And we were looking between Texas and Montana. Well, here we are in Montana.
Well, I think you chose right with being in Montana. That's the same exact reasons. I mean, I can't hit all of those, but, as a law enforcement officer, you see the bad all the time. It's constantly bad. Sometimes it's very rarely good. And the idea of raising a daughter in California, to me, was almost to the point where it was just ludicrous. I couldn't believe that I was going to endeavor this task. Now, I don't get to spend every moment with my daughter, which is very difficult for me when I'm back working and everything like that. Thank God for, FaceTime and stuff like that. Otherwise, I'd be missing her, just hearing her voice and all that type of stuff. I swear we've been here now for about 5 months. I swear the last 5 months I've cried more as an adult than I have my entire life. So that's understood. I don't want you to talk about Azuña or anything like that. I got a list here. Right?
Well, let me just say one more thing about the move, too, by the way. You have to put a lot of faith into decisions you make. And sometimes you just have to go for it. And that's really what we did. A lot of people said, wow, that was rather abrupt that you just took off. Well, it was, but it wasn't. We had a goal. We knew what we wanted to do. We didn't know where we wanted to be. But we took that goal and we ran with it. And that's why we got here. So I guess the point of saying that is I want to encourage people, if you've got a goal or a dream, you should chase that with your whole heart. Get after it. Here we are, happy as can be. I wish I did this 10 years earlier, and I wasn't afraid to do it.
Yeah, you and me both. That's we've talked sidebar and stuff like that about what you have introduced me to. You know, me coming here, more people now call me crazier than I ever was or ever accused of being crazy. You know what I mean? Like, how could you move your family out there and you're still here? How come you're not over there?
Yeah.
You know, financial situations and stuff like that I found myself and then I put myself in. I unfortunately can't make the move, or else I'd have done it yesterday. I'd have done it in July when we moved here. So I'm trying. I'm listening to what you're speaking.
Yeah, well.
Let's talk about one of your first transitions, right? So back when, I don't know exactly when you got the job. I believe you said it was like you started working for In-N-Out at 16.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you started working at In-N-Out at 16, and by, I believe you said somewhere around the age of 23. Is that correct? You were making about $150,000 a year.
Yeah, you know, people, especially you Californians, you know that In-N-Out is one of the best jobs you can get out there. And absolutely was making great money there for many years. I remember when I turned 18, I was making $55,000 that year. By the way, everybody, this is 1991, so the money was really good then.
Yeah, that's a lot better than I was making, I'll tell you that. So, In-N-Out, and if I get this correct, you made mention of a ski trip that you went to Mammoth. And during the ski trip, you spent a lot of money. I believe you said somewhere in the upwards about $5,000 or something like that. Snowboard, skiing, all that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then not too long after that, you went and visited an orphanage down in Mexico.
Yeah.
And you had a budget of about $5,000 or whatever. There are two different communities.
Yeah.
And while you were there, you, not to just repeat the podcast and the conversations that we've had, but you had a realization like, man, this $5,000 really helped these kids, and I just blew $5,000 in Mammoth the week before. Mm-hmm. So with that, you went back and decided that you were going to leave In-N-Out.
Yeah, well, you know, there's a lot to the story outside of that, but, you know, sometimes things happen in your life that give you clarity, and that was one of them because they were almost back-to-back weekends. And, you know, to go to Mammoth and spend that kind of money, obviously very frivolous. I was young and really making good money, almost in debt because I was spending on all kinds of stuff. You know, and we don't get the tools when we're young in school to learn how to manage that kind of money. But you know, leaving Mammoth and within a week or two going down to Baja and spending some time with the kids in the orphanages, as you mentioned, we had a $5,000 budget, and realizing that money's going to last those kids a month, 2 months, maybe 3 months on some of the supplies we were able to bring. It just really focused me on, I need to stop being selfish and living for me and just materialistic items, but start living for people and helping others and family and friends. And it caused a global shift in me, and I still live that to this day. And this was mid to late 90s. And those of you that know I have a wine import company right now, we donate back 8% of all of our proceeds to those same orphanages I was helping back in the 90s.
Right.
You know, so this isn't an overnight thing for me. It's been a long time.
Right. Well, a person like me would look at that and go, man, if you're in this job, and again, I don't want to get too much into the weeds because I'm not really sure about all the different circumstances for the leave and everything like that. I get the global transition and the change and all that. But you're making that amount of money. Instead of leaving that job and maybe focusing your priorities towards maybe donating to the orphanages from the money that you're making, you went, correct me if I'm wrong, to Lake Tahoe and got a job working minimum wage.
Yeah.
Seems now to me that's crazy.
Well, you know, Justin, I think what happens with people is they get in a rut, okay? And oftentimes your job creates your lifestyle.
I agree with you 100%.
And sometimes it takes a real kick in the balls to get out of that lifestyle. And so for me, you know, and look, with any job, you have your ups and downs and your times of trouble. And I'm not saying that I was troubled at In-N-Out. I just wasn't really into it. The money was great. My family's just now retired from In-N-Out after 35 years of running the company. You know, I needed a lifestyle change. And the only way I was going to do that is by making a global shift, meaning